About to start a 3-day bender of birthdays in our house. One of my best buddies, Andrew Friedman. Today's his birthday. Tomorrow's my dad's birthday. And then the day after that is my son's birthday. So the birthday trifecta coming up over the next 3 days. So we got to pace ourselves, D. That's all it is. We just got to pace ourselves. Don't get too carried away today. Get after it a little bit. Yesterday, nice snow day that we had here in Birmingham.
It was a little light dusting.
Yeah, light dusting. I mean, depending on which way you looked at the sun, maybe, just maybe, you could see the tiniest flicks of invisible snow. My son was convinced that it was snowing yesterday. That's why we didn't have school. I know that there were some terribly dangerous puddles in the greater Birmingham area yesterday that had to be avoided. I loved especially watching the news yesterday morning, Damien. I don't know if you saw this. You might have been putting together the rundown or doing some social media stuff. They were talking about, quote, frozen puddles. And the lady was doing a hit from one of the frozen puddles that I had to navigate around en route to the office. I had to brave that puddle. And the puddle was actually rippling on top, even though I was told it was frozen. How often do you see ice ripple?
Not very often. I feel like that's the opposite of ice.
Look, I'm all for being safe. 100%. I'm all for being safe. But at what point are we going to start canceling school for a moderate level wind gust? I mean, I think we're getting there. Like, if we're in double-digit wind, we'll cancel school. Work from home. It's like, y'all, we're already, like, existing after COVID. Being at home is no big deal. Like, it's fine. Like, we can get everything done at home that we need to get done. I, for one, am at home doing this radio show. Damien is at the studio. You would probably never know that unless you're watching Video Ninja. Or at least watching on the YouTube channel. Video Ninja is the app we use to put it on the YouTube channel, so shameless plug there. And free promo. Video Ninja, shout out. Appreciate you. But you can do anything from home nowadays. I am genuinely starting to get concerned about the possibility of us being exclusively from home at some point in my children's lifetime. Damien, is it possible?
100%. Like you said, COVID showed us that. It forced everybody home, and everybody started to adjust. And as technology starts to progress, continues to progress, I think society as a whole, we start to say, oh, if we can do it from the comfort of our own home, yeah, we'll do it. And I think that's kind of listen, you're a big conspiracy theorist guy, but you can tell how.
No, I don't. That's easy on that. That's a dangerous term to coin somebody. I like to see it from multiple perspectives. Some may be conspiratorial. We will be on the same page with that. But to go as far as to call me a conspiracy theorist is a little bit premature. I just want to understand the different perspectives from which something can be evaluated. And yes, that's fair. Some are a little bit more difficult to believe than others, but go ahead. I'll allow you to continue. I just want to make sure we ended that discussion label real quick.
I got you. But no, you can tell the way technology is just going. I mean, if we can do it from the comfort of our own home, more than likely us as society, we will do it. We will do it.
100%. Which is why yesterday I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and I actually love it when the kids are home. I know I'm like the one person that is like, oh, yes, snow day. Like, I'm a little frustrated because I feel like we're just progressively getting softer as a society, but I digress. Not that I'm like some hardo, by the way, but like farthest thing from it. But I do feel like, all right, wait, we can't go to school because it's cold. Like, there's literally nothing else that is obstructing our attendance at school. But I digress. That's a conversation for a different day. But I am a little bit like, I love it when the kids are home, but I find that the kids, maybe I'm just the kids are getting a little bit older, so it's a little bit more obvious. The kids really, they used to love being at home. Oh, no school today? Yes. Now there's a sense of like restlessness. And I don't know if this comes with like getting a little bit older, but like they miss their friends. They just want to be with their friends. Like they want to go to school. They want to go do these other things. Like it's kind of amazing how much it's changed in like a calendar year, and how it's probably only going to continue to progress here in the very near future. And of course, we wouldn't let them like go out on their bikes yesterday with their buddies by themselves because it's obviously dangerous on the streets. Didn't you see the puddles? Let's go to Greg in Athens. Greg, where you at, my friend? How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm actually home today as a teacher. I teach in Pulaski, Bo Wallace's old high school, and they had a lot more ice up there. So that's the dividing line for me. What I have found in my 10 plus years of teaching is that high school students tend, even though they don't want to be in class necessarily, they don't want to be home. Many of them live in rural areas, and the socialization is important in school. And I don't know that we will ever get to a point where education is totally online. Online teaching is the worst way to learn, and I think that this COVID lockdown a few years ago illustrated that. And we are just now getting out of that deficit in the student body. And when you're at home like that, it just really creates a lot more apathy in the student than you would have, even before technology, like when I went to school. Because in Athens, high school doesn't have buses to this day. We never had buses at all until 2010. And so I remember driving in 1978 on ice that was at least an inch thick, and my mom just saying,
goodness.
drive slowly. And that's just how it was. Wow. And so, the images you saw of Oxford and other parts of Mississippi, that's how it was every year down here in northern Alabama during Christmas time. And so, and parents, high schoolers, don't just necessarily want their kids home around them all day either. Because the last day that teachers are there each semester is not a class day. There might be 3 or 4 kids making up a missed semester exam, but it's really a time for teachers. We have a breakfast together, and then we pack up our stuff, or if it's the end of school, and head home for summer. And there are 40 to 50 kids who show up. Half of them show up because they don't want to be at home by themselves because they live out in the boondocks, and the other half because their mama doesn't want them home yet. So it is a different dynamic. And
I'm just glad to hear, Greg, frankly, I'm just glad to hear that we're not going to get to the point in which we're online all the time. Because, like, to me, I've noticed this yesterday, and not like I have a first grader. Like, it's not like we're, we're not solving some deep-rooted riddles here, all right? We're, a little homework here and there. Hey, what's 4 plus 7? Things like that.
Right.
Real tough stuff. I mean, Damien would need a calculator. But it's honestly kind of amazing to me how much it's changed in just a year. It used to be like, oh, man, yes, I'm at home. No school. Yes. And yesterday was the first time, and that's why I probably bring it up, where he's like, gosh, I wish I was at school. And I'm like, what the heck, dude? Like, Dad's home. We're home. Let's go play. It's cold. Like, but that's fine. Let's go do something. He wanted nothing to do with me. Nothing. Absolutely. He actually went to the school yesterday with friends just so they could play on the playground.
Well, in Alabama still, you're not required to go to kindergarten. You can show up wet behind the ears in first grade. And I find that astounding in today's world because that child is already at a deficit. And so I think even in bigger cities that have a lot of problems with education, even they realize that this online deal sounds great. It's futuristic, but it's not happening in the next 10, 20 years. And so it's a wonderful dynamic. And I was sitting here watching some training videos that I'm being forced to watch, and also listening to your opening monologue. And I was like, oh, I got to chime in on this because I would stop teaching, and I view it as a calling because I spent 20 years in the Navy. I view it as a calling, and I would stop and go work at Publix rather than teach online all the time.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the phone call, buddy. Thank you for calling in, and we appreciate what you do because I think all of us would acknowledge that our teachers, in some cases, are as impactful as our parents when it comes to, helping raise us and help us learn and help us explore and help us do all these other things. That's why it's like I'm just happy. I think yesterday, in like a weird way of rounding it all out, I was really happy yesterday to know that my son really enjoys school. And there was a part of him that was missing yesterday because we were at home as opposed to running amok like he'd run for the first 6 years of his life. I mean, he's only 6, it's like it's not like we're that advanced. But it was a little bit of a relief and yet also a little bit of a disappointment. But yesterday, to have us out of school again was a little eye-opening to see how much it's changed just in one semester. Damien, did you like school when you were a kid?
I didn't mind it. I was more of a social guy. I like being around the crowd, amongst the people, amongst my buddies. But a lot of the teachers that I had growing up, they were very impactful. They almost, like you said, like an extension of family. Whether they were teaching, up there teaching or not, they taught me a lot of life lessons and valuable lessons. So overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the social aspect, of course, the sports aspect, being with my buddies, being with my teammates and things like that, and classmates. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's like I was just, I'm sure this will be shocking to all of you, but I really liked school. I don't know. I've always enjoyed it. It's always been fun to meet. I have always appreciated going to school and learning at school. I'm social, definitely outgoing. So seeing kids and stuff like that was like our favorite thing to do. Going to school was the best. So when in the off chance that we had a snow day, almost 0% of that day was spent at the house. And we were outside, running around, going crazy, playing football. Playing football in the snow was like the coolest thing ever. Damien, did you ever get any snow days where you got to play football outside?
Nah, just the climate down here, it's a little different. So I never got a chance to experience football in the snow because by the time we had a period of time my senior year, the second semester, where we were out for pretty much a week due to snow and ice, and I just stayed inside the whole time. I was locked in, man. I wasn't used to it, man. It was just like that was the first time I had ever really seen that much snow, and it stuck for a minute. So it was more like, hey, can we keep the power on inside and let's everybody bundle up, man, because if you go outside, you're going to freeze to death.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we would get snow probably once a year. It was not often, and it wasn't like deep, thick snow. It was maybe an inch at most. And if we had it and school was canceled, it was automatic. We're meeting at the middle school and we're playing a tackle football game in the snow. And we thought we were just pros. We thought we were just the coolest thing ever. And it was one of the better experiences I've had. I remember it vividly. It would probably only happen 5 or 6 times in our life. But it was so awesome. So awesome. We're very much looking forward to getting the kids back at school today, though, and hopefully everybody can get home safe. Hopefully everybody braved the storm yesterday. Hopefully there was no issues as it relates to your home, as it relates to your car or whatever it might be. So hopefully it was a seamless and smooth start to the week because we have a lot to look forward to this week, including, like I said, in our house, 3 days in a row, 3 straight birthdays. So dial it up, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're trying to dial things up after becoming newly engaged, dial up the number to Bromberg's. I would just go see them. They're the very best. You just go right up and check them out by going to brombergsbride.com. And you'll understand what I'm talking about when you walk in the door and visit with their incredible staff. They're just the best people. I would go up there just to hang out. It's just the people are so kind and nice, and they're friends of mine, and I just think the world of the experience. But there's a lot of folks that got engaged over the holiday season, and now is kind of the time to start the wedding planning process, and that can be overwhelming. That can be difficult. That can be stressful. Well, one thing that doesn't have to be stressful is your wedding registry because you can go up to Bromberg's and work one-on-one with a bridal consultant. They can help you select everything you need from china, crystal, silverware, casual pieces to it's a seamless and simple process. Wedding planning is hard enough. Don't make planning your registry difficult as well. Just go to Bromberg's and get it taken care of. 20% off wedding bands and special pricing on wedding party gifts. Plus, you can register online at brombergsbride.com or just go up to the store, Bromberg's in Mountain Brook or at the Summit. All right, when we come back, Larry Williams joins us next on Mac and Cube. Welcome back, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning on Jock 94.5, 720 here in Birmingham, Alabama. A lot to get to today. 12-team playoff conversation. We'll continue on our evaluation of what's going on in the portal. We'll dive into what's been maybe the most, either if it's manufactured drama, if it's real drama. Larry Williams, our guest here in a moment, will help us determine what side of the coin that is. We'll get his side from Clemson's perspective. We'll get Richard Cross's side from the Ole Miss perspective coming up at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. We'll have Andy Burcham join us at 8 o'clock. We have a busy show for you today, and we're very much looking forward to our conversations. Of course, Cole is out. He is feeling a little under the weather, so wish him well. Hopefully he feels better tomorrow and can get back as soon as possible. But until then, you can serve as the co-host alongside Damian and myself. Let's bring him in now. It's Larry Williams. He does a great job for Tiger Illustrated. It's a great site. If you're interested in Clemson, if you want to keep up with what's going on with Clemson, they always give us great perspective. They're very dialed in and buttoned up, and it's a site I use a lot when preparing to call Clemson games and trying to make sure we're up to speed. So Larry, how are you, my friend?
Hey, great. Thanks for the kind words. I'm an avid listener to your podcast, so right back at you, man.
Well, I appreciate it, buddy. What a disappointing year for Clemson. I just want to start there. Like, what the heck? Like, I was really high on them and loved them and watched them in the season before. Like, what do you think, before we get into the Dabo and the back and forth between them and Ole Miss, just be first, because we haven't really had much perspective on this, what the heck went wrong with Clemson this season?
You know, it's funny here, sort of inside the bubble with Clemson folks and subscribers, you know, they're like, how could y'all have been so wrong about this team back in August? And, you know, you were just pumping sunshine and this and that. And I'm like, you do realize that the rest of the nation was too, you know? So it wasn't just, you know, they're like, you got the wrong sources or whatever. But I just think it's confounding just on a broader level too. I think that when you have so much build up for one game, meaning the LSU opener,
right,
and you have spent the entire off season, largely the summer though. I mean, it was the summer of love for Clemson. Like everybody sort of Oprah Winfrey was picking Clemson, you know, to win it all. And I think, you know, not to use a cliche here, but once you get hit in the mouth against LSU, and that's a lot harder than maybe you anticipated. And then you look over at Cade Klubnik, and maybe he has that sort of familiar deer in headlights look that you saw 2 years ago when he was really struggling as a first year starter at quarterback. It's like, oh no, right? And that sort of that can be, the negative can be just as contagious as the positive, I guess. And you could probably speak to that as a former player yourself. And then you add in all the sort of modern elements of this with, you got millionaires who are on the team, and are they really selling out as much as they should be? You know, Dabo Swinney early in the season, he really broke some new ground, I think, in terms of not just calling out some of his assistant coaches, largely Garrett Riley, but also some of his high-priced players, basically saying, hey, it ain't just for scholarship anymore. Like, you got to produce. And so
right,
I think, I mean, bottom line to me, they were way more talented than 7 and 6. So I think that's why you're seeing some changes. Dabo Swinney made up 2 changes to his coaching staff. Was that enough? I think some Clemson fans would argue no. He needed to clean more house.
Right.
But yeah, I'm just as confounded as you. But I think when you have a quarterback who is kind of a roller coaster, and you don't have the offensive line that you thought you were going to have, when you can't lean on that running game, I think those are the initial ingredients for a major letdown.
I think we've seen it time and time again. If you play that difficult opponent early and you lose, when a lot was put into that game, it's been difficult for teams to bounce back for a little while now. But it's been a bit of a trend, I feel like, for Clemson. Poor starts for a number of years now. And that was never the case because they played that one out of conference, and they used to always take care of business in that game, and the rest of their schedule was pretty manageable. But for whatever reason, it's been slow starts for them. Whether it's a Georgia game a couple years ago, last year against LSU, they get off to like this confounding start. Even the year before when they won the ACC, it was not a great start. and then they get better and they're playing great ball by November. Is that something that you've noticed? Is that something they can clean up? And with the adjustments to the coaching staff, is that something that can be avoided moving forward?
It's interesting as Dabo looks back on the practice of scheduling a major opener in your first game. He has for years bemoaned the lack of preseason games. The NFL gets to do it. Dry rehearsals and such. And I think he, even early in the season, as they started 1-3, he looked at that LSU game and said, I think he's questioning starting with that. And he believes that if they had a few warm-ups, then maybe things would have ended up a lot better. I don't know about that, Greg, because you look at Penn State. They had, 3 straight warm-ups like Villanova and Florida International. I forgot who it was.
Yeah.
But the truth was still revealed for Penn State. They still ended up being paper tigers, so to speak, paper Nittany Lions, I guess. And so, you could go all the way back to 2008, Greg, with Clemson when they were top 10 and ran headlong into a buzzsaw against the Crimson Tide in Atlanta. Would that season have ended up much different? Had they had a warm up? I don't know, man. I just think you are who you are, and over the course of 12, 13 games, the truth is gonna come out one way or the other.
Yeah, it's hard to push back on that. All right, let's get into it. He's Larry Williams, Tigers Illustrated. Does a great job covering Clemson. Let's get into the story of college football right now. It's funny how kind of weird this has hit the fans of the sport that have no vested interest in Clemson and or Ole Miss. There are some people that are doing cartwheels on behalf of Dabo Swinney. And there's some people that are like, why is he throwing stones in glass houses? Dabo's so out. Everything Dabo does is like the Stone Age. It's archaic. It's old school thinking. So I guess from your vantage point, granted maybe with a slight Tiger bias, how have you kind of received what he did last week, and what's been the response of those that consume your content?
Well, I think first of all, you have to establish that this is not the, standard fare tampering, I guess you could say, that we've seen the last few years, the typical sort of bending of the rules. So the definition of that has been, all right, intermediaries, right? GM calls agent, you get family, sort of inner circle involved. Would he be interested? This and that. This was, as Dabo said, what did he say? This was tampering 3.0.
Tampering 3.0.
3 point, yeah.
Or 301. Tampering 301. Yeah. Excuse me.
Like the kid was literally in a sociology class at 8 a.m. had already moved into his own campus apartment, already bought a car, was already going through team-related workouts, and he's getting hit up not by, an intermediary or an agent or a representative of Ole Miss's interest. It was the dang head coach. And so, allegedly, I guess I should say, it'd be hard for me to believe that Clemson is making this up. That's different. That is an escalation of the tampering practice. And so if there are fans out there who say, Dabo, you just got to deal with it. This is the way it is, and this and that. Okay, fair enough. Everybody has differences of opinion, but
sure.
I sense what I pick up, not just among Clemson fans, but fans elsewhere. Also, quite a bit of the national media folks, it's like applauding Dabo for taking a stand just on, okay, what are the rules? Are these actual rules? And let's establish that. And so in that respect, I think Clemson's angle of attack here or their premise is, okay, this is going to be a flashpoint, a precedent-setting flashpoint one way or the other, right? Either the NCAA is going to have some teeth to its rules,
right,
or there's going to be zero teeth. But at least everybody knows. At least it's all out in the open. So I think that's part of Clemson's part of their angle here.
Well, that's kind of the side I'm on. I don't feel like what Pete Golding is doing is unique, if you want me to be honest. Like, I think that goes on a lot. Just based on my conversations, it goes on all the time. And it doesn't bother me that much that it goes on, because I feel like a lot of the coaches, there's been like this understood fraternity of thou shalt not cast stones. That was like hey, because guess what? We're all doing the exact same thing and all is fair in love and war. And I feel like that's the way it's been. That's why I feel like Dabo's coming at it from a bit of a unique perspective, because I do believe some agree, some disagree. I think Dabo runs his program in a way that is more traditional than your average program. I think it is. I don't think he's out there purposefully tampering. I think he wants to create culture. I think he wants to kind of do it the way he's always done it, which, while might not be the best way to win nowadays, I believe that's still at the one of the highest points of why he does what he does. So I think most people are on Dabo's side. But I also think that if the NCAA doesn't do anything about it, what are we doing? What doesn't matter, does it? So do you feel like there's going to be an investigation into this process? And if so, how helpful will Dabo Swinney and all the information he laid out the other day, how helpful will that information be towards drawing a conclusion on what should happen to Ole Miss?
Yeah. I mean, I think the information Clemson has will be very helpful. I mean, that was that happened on a Friday afternoon.
I mean, he documented it timelines, timestamps, specifics.
I mean, that gives you a pretty good idea that Clemson's legal team, their general counsel, has spent a lot of time on this and has been very meticulous and has lots of stuff and you know, plenty of stuff probably that Dabo didn't include in his public
right.
In his public revealing of all this stuff. And so, as to whether the NCAA is actually going to, what will their investigation consist of, I can't answer to that. But I do know that if there's no teeth to it, if they just sort of shrink back and don't do anything, Clemson is very much prepared to file a lawsuit for damages with Ole Miss, at Ole Miss. And so then it could get, you think it's juicy now. Imagine the discovery nuggets that would be able to come from that in terms of the actual text and such. Now, I should say, like Luke Farrelly being a quote unquote student athlete, lots of protections from FERPA or HIPAA or whatever they call it. So, but still, I think there'd be a lot of good stuff because Clemson was. There were communications between Clemson and Ole Miss from what we've gathered. Matt Luke, who used to, of course, he has a history at Ole Miss. I think he has a relationship with Golding. I think there was some back channel conversations between those two. I think there certainly were some conversations between Clemson's AD, Graham Neff, and his Ole Miss counterpart, Keith Carter. But Clemson is every single indication I get, they're taking this extremely seriously, and basically from the perspective of you've messed with the wrong guy, essentially, because they believe there are no similar receipts that can be thrown back in their faces.
Yeah, I don't think there are. That's part of my next question, and I know you've been generous with your time so far, so I appreciate you entertaining us. And we visit with Larry Williams right now, by the way. Does a great job for Tiger Illustrated. But that's part of why I find this so fascinating, because it doesn't feel like Dabo would be the type to tamper. So tell us about their recruiting processes, if you could. And while it probably irritates some that Dabo does it the way he does it, it probably also makes a lot of Clemson fans proud that he is a little more old school with how he approaches it. So how do you kind of sift through all of that?
Fascinating topic there, Greg, because here in the moment, while this story is generating the big sensation, I think Clemson fans are certainly rallying around Dabo. They're all in with him because he had the guts to say the quiet parts out loud, and so that's where we are right now. But over the bigger picture, as you're asking about the broader recruiting philosophies and the sort of the morals, so to speak, on not going as far as other folks are going, I think there's been quite a bit of frustration on the part of Clemson fans that Dabo is not doing some of the things that others are doing. And I want to point out, I want to stress, I'm not talking about calling
Right.
enrolled players at other schools when they're sitting in class. What I'm talking about is, during the season, you have GMs at football programs all over the place who are spending the majority of their work days on the phone with agents, right? Just networking, right? And so that's what I sort of view as, okay, that's the gray area. That's maybe the going 31 and a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Is that really like that bad? I mean, you could argue that's just simply doing what you need to do. That's the thing that Dabo, I think, just from what I've picked up, has even he's pushed back on his GM doing that type of thing. And so I do think there's some modernizing that probably needs to happen. Clemson has what, 10 portal guys in this cycle. I guess you can't include Farrelly anymore.
Yeah.
In that.
Now down to 9. Exactly. There you go.
Yeah. So to the outside world, like, oh my God, that's a bonanza. Dabo's changed his ways. Well, closer to the action here, to the boots on the ground, you got a significant amount of Clemson folks are like, well, dang it, it should have been like 15. It should have been a quarterback. Should have been a playmaker at quarterback. They should have, and money was not the issue there. Like, they had money to spend on a big time playmaker at quarterback. It was more, that was Dabo's call, right? And Dabo even said that in the press conference Friday that preceded his tirade against Ole Miss, because he was introducing new/old coordinator Chad Morris, and he was asked about, hey, did you look in the portal for a quarterback? He said, no, that's my call, and I believe in Christopher Verzina. I believe in what we have. So back to my point, you're asking me what is the sentiment of Clemson's fans as far as supporting Dabo. I think they are overwhelmingly supportive of what he just did to sort of call out the lack of structure in the rules and the lack of guardrails. But I think sort of beneath that, the surface, sort of the broader recruiting, talent acquisition philosophies, I think there's some heartburn that maybe he's not being modern enough and sort of pushing that envelope. Again, not to the point that Pete Golding allegedly did.
Unbelievable. It's like, it's amazing to me because yes, while everybody, they want him to do it on the up and up, there also is frustration that he won't do it. It's like, it's a fascinating circumstance. Well, Larry, we really appreciate the time, buddy. Great to get your perspective, and we appreciate how y'all have covered this. It's been a very interesting story, so it's great to get from both sides.
Appreciate you, Greg. Always fun talking with you.
All right, buddy. Thank you again. Larry Williams joining us now from Tiger Illustrated. Does a great job. Check him out. It's just like very interesting because I've been following it from the Ole Miss side and the Clemson side. And to get both sides is interesting. It's all, well, he said this. Oh, well, they did this. Oh, well, this is happening here. Well, this is how we're responding. It's good drama. And if you think that there is a better reality soap opera out there in the world, I might push back on it now, Damian, because there was a time when, yes, maybe Survivor, perhaps American Idol, maybe even The Voice or The Bachelor/Bachelorette. There was a time where maybe that was number one as it related to reality show drama. I think college football is quickly ascending. Where are you at on that?
Yeah, it's getting to that point because you have situations like this where for years now we've been trying to say, if tampering's happened, either say it or it's just going to be what's understood ain't got to be explained. But now Dabo's taking the stance of, no, this is exactly what happened. I've got the receipts. Now it's at the powers that be's foot. What are they going to do about it?
Yeah. It's wild now. I love it. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I just absolutely love it. Because frankly, here's my thing, and I'll kind of explain. I'm going to save it for the next segment. I'll explain why what transpired last week I absolutely love. I'll help you understand why, and it's not because I'm in the daily radio game. That has nothing to do with it. I think it's good for the sport. I'll explain next on Mac and Cube. Welcome back, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning on Jocks 94.5. This whole Ole Miss versus Clemson thing's fascinating, and we've kind of hit on it. We've kind of hit on both sides. I'm going to tell you why I love it here in just a moment. Why I do think, while it's not necessarily the most comfortable topic of conversation, I do think it's a positive. I do think there's things that can come of it that we can get around. And if you want a positive experience while moving, I just want you to know there's very few people out there that will do it better. No one in my experience than Crocker Moving Services, the local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. Whether your whole home packed up move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room, these guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you purchase need to get to your home. So call and visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move. All right, here's what I'm saying, Damian. I don't ever like NCAA drama. I don't. I really, really don't like it. I think it's bad. I think it kind of casts a black eye over the sport. It's not something that I usually encourage. This is something that is a little bit different because we've been talking for a long time now about the challenges of keeping up with the Joneses in the era of NIL. We've been talking for a long time about the challenges as it relates to tampering and fixing tampering. How do we curb the behavior? All this stuff. We've tried to figure all these things out, and it's been very hard for us to quantify exactly what's going on because these coaches talk about tampering. Oh, well, they're calling everyone on our roster, and we can't do anything about it. This school's doing this, but no one's telling us who. No one's telling us how. Like, we don't want this behavior to go on any more than anybody else. And I'm not indicting Pete Golding. I think Pete Golding's doing what everybody else is doing. It's just this is the first time that a coach has really gone on the offensive and mentioned specifics and timestamps and things like that. If we are going to, in football, in the NFL, we used to have what we called a kangaroo court. Like, if you were doing something wrong in the locker room, like, you got called to kangaroo court and you got it taken care of. If you're doing something wrong, if you weren't, wearing your socks appropriately, like, you got called out for it, but there was a built-in accountability amongst those in the room. Well, within the coaches community right now, there's not a lot of built-in bells and whistles. There's not a lot of built-in accountability. Like, because it's like the wild, wild west, everybody's running rampant. Everybody's saying, oh, well, I got this. Oh, I got this. Oh, I got this. I got this. It's like everybody's kind of, it's survival of the fittest, Davian. And when we are actually calling out behavior that is below that of what we want to have happen when it comes to recruiting players, I feel maybe calling people out publicly is the only way to stop the behavior, Damian. So I kind of like it. But I also don't love the fact that Pete Golding's in the crosshairs because Pete Golding, I think, is just doing what everybody else is doing. So I think it's good. We need more built-in accountability like this, especially if the NCAA is not going to kind of use their teeth the way they've used it in the past.
No, I'm with you, man. Because I mean, if everybody's doing it, not everybody's doing it at the same rate or the same level. So Dabo, like you said, he has timestamps. He knows exactly when his guys were communicated, when they were tampered with. And this isn't about, like, it's one thing to accuse somebody of tampering. This is straight up evidence. Like, this is 100% factual information. And really and truly, when it's presented to the forefront, what is the NCAA going to do? Because here they are, they have a bevy of issues. They really do, because there's no kind of guidelines or further explanation of just what eligibility is nowadays. And then now it's, hey, we have evidence that people are tampering to get our players. Like, there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. We have it documented. At some point, somebody has to stand up and do something for the greater good.
Well, assuming that assuming all the stuff that Dabo gave us is accurate, which I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming it is. It doesn't feel like you can go into that type of detail without having real documented proof of what went down, where it's screenshots and timestamps and conversations and specifics and all this other stuff. So it feels authentic. I don't know if any of us can actually assume unless we are presented with the evidence ourselves. But I think we need to continue to encourage this. Encourage the coaches to go out on the offensive if they've been wronged, if you will. But I can promise you this. If you go out on the offensive and you are adamant about a player that was tampered with on your roster, you better be darn sure you're not also tampering. That's my thing. Because what Dabo did in doing this last week, he went on the offensive, but guess what happens as a result of him going on the offensive? Well, 15 other programs have since shown the spotlight on Dabo Swinney and on the Clemson program. Because that's the way it goes down. Hey, guess what? You go after one of ours, and I'm sure Pete Goldie's got a lot of friends in the industry. You go after one of ours, now we're going to go after you. So everything you're doing better be on the up and up. And I don't know that. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Hopefully it is. I don't know. But that's the challenge, because I think it's very territorial and it's protective in nature, and you're going to protect your boy. But at the same time, like, you're kind of doing the same thing against your boy. Like, it's a very cutthroat world. I mean, we're talking about millions upon millions upon millions of dollars these head coaches are receiving. And if you don't think they're trying to find every possible advantage to stay employed, you're crazy. I would do the same thing, by the way, especially if I didn't feel like there was any possibility of me getting in trouble. That doesn't make me like I'm a God-fearing Christian man. I listened to 1 Chronicles 7 through 10 this morning on the treadmill, and Psalm 81, 88, 92, and 93, including 2 Bible recap videos by Tara Lee Cobble. Like, I am a God-fearing man. You can be that and also want to keep your job. And I haven't seen anything in my reading of the Old Testament over the last 6 months about tampering. So, like, I'm just saying, like, it's a tough thing to swallow, and everyone thinks their program's on the up and up. I hope it is, but everybody is kind of doing some of these things. I just hope that we can stop the behavior, because the NCAA is not in a position to do anything at the moment for fear of litigation. They have bigger fish to fry. How you get one player on a roster from another, the NCAA is kind of given up on that. They got to figure out a way to make sure that there's not 30-year-olds playing college sports. That's what they got to figure out. That's their biggest challenge right now. And I'm telling you this, it's not an easy challenge to deal with. That's for sure. All right, when we come back, take a quick break, come back. Andy Burcham coming up here in about 8 minutes. It's Mac and Q. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning on Jocks 94.5. Good first hour. Plenty more to get to here in the second hour. We're going to dive into the 12-team playoff. Want your reaction to it, too. I'm amazed at the stalemate that we arrived at. And I'm amazed at why we're at where we're at. I'm amazed at why we think more is better. I guess that's my big. Like, to me, we never should have gone to 12. We could have been at 8. Going from 4 to 12 was aggressive, and now we're all of a sudden trying to increase it by another 12. Like, what? Come on, man! Like, we got to talk through this. We haven't really done it yet. We're gonna get your take on it as well. We'll take a lot of phone calls in the next hour, but we will kick off the next hour with Andy Burcham. Talk to him a little bit about where Auburn's at. Talk a little bit about Hoop, big win. Talk a little bit about what they're doing in the portal. Talk a little bit about how Alex Golish, here after a month, where he's at, and kind of indoctrinating himself into the Auburn family. Talked about all those things. So we'll do a little Auburn next before we get over into the 12-team playoff discussion. Then coming up about an hour and 4 minutes from now, we will visit with Richard Cross, who covers the Ole Miss Rebels. We've heard the Clemson perspective. Now we're going to hear the Ole Miss perspective and how things are being received in Oxford, Mississippi as it relates to the accusations thrown at Pete Golding from Dabo Swinney. So a lot to get to. 2 more hours here on Mac and Cube, but Andy Burcham kicks it off next.